Bushcrafters, welcome back to part 3 of the new knife series here. So we've talked about tangs, we've talked about different kinds of knives, I've showed you some examples and even touched base on carbon steel and stainless steel. So really all up to this point, it's just simply up to you what you want. You've had a good overview. So today I want to show you the Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife. This thing's pretty cool. I picked this up for 50 bucks. And so this is all about budget right here. This is inexpensive, but man, I'll have to say this thing really looks like it could take a beating here. I haven't actually taken this out yet, but just look at the thickness of that blade. It's even got a nice little grind on there, so that way you can use the fire steel that comes with it. I've been told that this is a full tang knife. Well, the package told me that this is a full tang knife, but I really don't know for sure. It's an encapsulated handle, so I've seen reviews on the internet where somebody had actually gone through and cut this handle off and declared it a 3/4 tang, so I really couldn't tell you exactly what's in this thing, and I really don't want to go waste 50 bucks and go tear this thing up for myself. But I do see that this is looks like it's a pretty decent knife. One thing I do have to say about the Bear Grylls line is that most of the stuff I've seen on the Bear Grylls line is usually a rebrand with his name on it, and it's something that Gerber was already making. And like this one, for instance, here they make this knife exactly the same as a military knife without the pommel on the end. So it even has the holes drilled right there for putting that, lashing that to a spear. So you can really do a whole kinds of good stuff with this. It has a nice little rescue whistle on there, and like I said, the pommel, I don't really know what the story is on the metal that this is made of. I don't know if this is actually attached to the tang, or if it's welded to it, or if it's glued in there, or what, or even what kind of metal that is. So there wasn't a whole lot of detail about it. As much as I kept trying to research it, I really didn't find out a whole lot about, you know, some of the inner workings of this knife. So there's the knife itself. Here's the sheath. It's a typical Gerber quality sheath. So this thing, I can already tell you before even doing anything with it, this sheath is screaming for a modification. So I'll probably do a video in the future with a good modification on this particular sheath. One thing I like about what Bear has done with this sheath, because this is, like I said, this is the rebranded version of something else that Gerber has. But this has Bear's touch. It's got a little bit of survival information on the back here. I'm sorry, this is actually signaling information back here on the back. And with inside that, you can see there's a little folded up piece of paper in there. And what that is a little small survival guide. It's mainly goes over the essentials of survival. So that's kind of nice to actually have right there on your knife. If you do wind up getting stuck out there, you have something to refer to. You have a little small manual. On the front of the sheath is a fire steel. So that's a nice little thing to have right there on your knife, and especially with the little spot to grind it and make your spark. That's a plus. I saw that, that made me pretty happy. So what Bear had come up with on this is you can undo the Velcro on the front, fold it down, and you have a nice little diamond cut sharpening stone right there. So you have your sharpener right there with your knife. Not a bad deal. Actually looks quite impressive. The knife itself, just from first impressions, has a decent balance to it, has a good heft to it. I bet I can process some wood with this. I bet I could do all kinds of good stuff. So what do you say we go run this thing through the ringer and see what she'll do? it, the Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife. 50 bucks, not a bad buy, really. It stood up to a lot more than I thought it would. What can I say? I mean, you saw me hacking away at that wood. That wood's a good West Texas completely dried and cured live oak. That's a good hard wood. That's like trying to carve on a rock. The thing kept a pretty decent edge through all that abuse. I mean, it's going to need a little bit of a sharpening, but I mean, I could continue to use it for a while, but man, it really stood that. The one thing about this I don't like is the pommel. The pommel didn't seem to do real well, which then again, carving on that hardwood's pretty tough anyway on any kind of knife. I don't care what kind it is. So I probably could have gotten that, if I could have gotten that carved down to a little bit harder point, I probably could have drove that in the ground with that. But this lanyard, nah, that's going to have to go. This whistle's going to have to be moved somewhere else if I choose to keep it, because that just did nothing but get in the way. I had to grab it here, and that made it uncomfortable. So that, sorry guys, that's got to go. But as far as the integrity of this thing, slamming that thing with a piece of wood and driving it down to the other one, I almost expected it to break or something to shift in the handle. Nothing slid out of the handle. Everything's perfectly well in place where it was. So this is a pretty good knife. The Fire Steel, amazingly enough, did just as well as I was hoping, because of that grind right there, just for striking that. That's got a good sharp edge on that, so it gives me a good bright spark. So this is a good one. The only thing I suggest for this thing is to take the whistle, relocate that somewhere else on this knife, and there's all kinds of modifications to be done to the sheath. So do whatever you guys want to with that. I'll be doing something with this sheath, because of course it is screaming to be modified. I like the way the knife clips straight into the sheath. That holds nice and stable. So if I forget to strap it down or whatever, or if I need it at the ready at all times, I'm not going to lose my knife. The actual sheath portion, the rubber portion, this is rubber coated. It's got a real nice feel to it. The way the whole thing is Gerber did a great job here. This is nice and stable and sturdy. This will last the test of time here. We're not going to see this bust anytime soon. So all in all, that's a good knife. That's a good $50 well spent. The only thing about it is that it did lose a little bit of edge, but then again, that wood's as hard as a rock. So at least you got the sharpener back there to do that. I just wish there was a few other things incorporated on this sheath to make it a little bit more of a survival type knife. I mean, this is the bare basics, but I'd like to be able to incorporate a few other little items in there, like maybe some cordage or something like that would be good. But then again, you can go ahead and just start wrapping this thing in cordage or whatever. So good knife, 50 bucks. I would risk my life with this knife. If I was in a survival situation, I would hope I'd have this with me. So therefore, what I have to say is, me and this knife, we've made friends. I like it. Well, I hope that whole thing was informative for you and entertaining as well. So, until next time, go out there and get dirty, guys.